Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Wednesday, the 13th of May. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Trump has said that stopping the Iran's nuclear program outweighs America's economic pain. The EU has invited Taliban members to discuss Afghan migrant return, and Saudi Arabia has launched covert attacks on Iran as the regional war widens. So firstly, US President Donald Trump said on Tuesday that Americans' financial struggles are not a factor in his decision-making as he seeks to negotiate an end to the Iran war, saying that preventing Tehran from acquiring a nuclear weapon is his top priority. Asked by a reporter to what extent Americans' financial situations were motivating him to strike a deal, Trump said, not even a little bit. So what? Well, I don't think most people would be surprised by this statement. At the end of the day, these are the people that are going to vote for him and the Republican Party in the upcoming midterm elections. So a statement like this seems a bit wild to me. I mean, he can't be re-elected into a third term as president, so he doesn't really care about re-election. But, he campaigned on a no wars, high economic prosperity kind of message, and then to kind of flip the buck and then do stuff like this and then say stuff like that is pretty crazy and kind of, I think, erodes at his base quite significantly, who really want the US to succeed and to kind of get out of forever wars, which they've been in for quite some time. And from the outside looking in, it seems like that if the economy isn't fixed, the Republican Party are kind of fucked in November. And then in turn, that will probably have significant flow-on effects for his presidency, Trump's, by that I mean. Yeah, and at the end of the day, he might not achieve either, This situation in Iran is pretty difficult right now. The Iranians aren't really negotiating. They've closed the Strait of Hormuz. They're applying significant pressure to regional allies, as we'll talk about shortly. And the US kind of lacks any leverage over them right now. And their only real options are to take a really shit deal with Iran or to go back to war, which, the Senate is unlikely to approve. And next, the European Commission has invited representatives of the Taliban to Brussels for talks on deporting Afghan nationals who have been refused permission to stay in the European Union. The invitation follows a preliminary meeting for technical talks that took place in January in the Afghanistan. The European Commission spokesperson Marcus Lemert said on Tuesday that classifying the plan Brussels discussion as a follow-up. He said that the invitation to Brussels does not by any mean the constitute recognition of the Taliban as the Afghan government. The EU does not formally recognize the Taliban as the leaders of the country after the sudden return to power after the US and NATO withdrawal in 2021. So what? I think this is pretty mental in my opinion. While saying you can send migrants back to a country like Syria after their dictator was ousted and has been replaced by probably a new one, I don't think that Afghan is the same. I think the situation in Afghanistan is pretty dire, and any returnees there are likely to face persecution by the Taliban government. I think it's possible that you could send young single males back with no family, as they, are less likely to be persecuted by the Taliban. But the idea of sending women and children back to Afghanistan, to me, is pretty messed up. While I understand where Europe is coming from about getting rid of illegal migrants and removing people who have had their migrant case denied, I don't think women and children should be included in that, which they possibly won't. According to the article, they're only looking at people who have had their migrant status denied by the courts. So it's quite possible that this does only apply to young single males with no family. And lastly, Saudi Arabia has launched numerous unpublicized strikes on Iran in retaliation for attacks carried out on the kingdom during the Middle East war. 2 Western officials briefed on the matter, and 2 Iranian officials said to Reuters. The Saudi attacks, not previously reported, marked the first time that the kingdom is known to have directly carried out military action on Iranian soil, and show it is becoming a much bolder in defending itself against its main regional rival. So what? Firstly, I was wrong yesterday. My assessment was that if the UAE was going to attack Iran, it is unlikely that other Gulf states would support it due to mainly the UAE pulling out of OPEC. But that seems to be not the case, and it seems that Saudi Arabia is also quite keen to get involved. When these strikes took place is currently unclear. Currently, the dates of these strikes have been unreported, so it's possible that it happened before the UAE left OPEC, and, the tensions that came from that have since risen. But yeah, it currently seems possible that it's leading into a bit of a wider regional war than first expected, with other countries getting involved. I still do doubt the effectiveness of the Gulf states if they were to try and go it alone against Iran. They would likely need the support of the US, which, they quite possibly could get if Trump can't get a good deal. But Iran is a formidable foe. Iraq went to war with them for over 10 years and couldn't get the job done. They have a very significant military, and they can choke out the Gulf states, mainly through the Straits of Hormuz. So yeah, very challenging conflict if they were to try and get involved. But anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.